let's make the X carriage. So these are all the components that you're going to need to make the X carriage. So we've got our laser cut components here on the left of screen. Two different types of bearings. We've got a V-groove bearing and a thrust bearing here, and I'll talk about those in a little while. Some washers, M3 washers, M3 nuts, a nylock, 3 nylocks, 4 regular hex and 2 squares. Some M3 by 16 button head machine screws and M3 by 12 flathead machine screws, and some copper wire, which will bend up in a little while, a little component that will make the striker for the end stops. So let's just start with the carriage that holds the bearings, and this is it here. Now we'll just take this little piece here and assemble it on the end. Now remember, if it doesn't go on very easily in one way, flip the part over and try it the other way. Usually the kerf of the cut just means it'll go on easier one way and not the other. So put that together like this. I'm just going to get a little bit of glue. Now I've got something to glue onto, just a bit of scrap. This is the PVC primer, the clear stuff. It really adheres this acrylic really well. So we're just going to dip it on here, and it'll wick into the cracks. Let's get that out of the road again. Then we'll pop a couple of these square nuts in there. So the MEK, the primer, PVC primer, which is made up of MEK and acetone, it will actually take a little while to set inside the gaps between the parts. It basically melts the plastic together, but it evaporates pretty quickly off the surface, so we can keep going. In this case, this little part here should be a tight fit and it won't fall off. Some of the other parts we probably wouldn't want to do this until it's actually dry. These parts over here are a good case in point. But okay, so we've got these components together. We're going to take 2 of these 16mm M3 by 16 machine screws and just pop those in there like that. So we should have something that looks like that. So now this isn't handed, so you could flip it either way. It doesn't really matter which way up it sits. So I'm just going to put it up this way. Put these 2 or these 3 screws through here. Now this hole here is quite a tight fit. You might have to screw that in. It doesn't really want to push through. So I'm just going to... It's not threaded, but yeah, it will. And you can actually ease it up by giving it a couple of turns once it's screwed in. Once we've done that, you can flip this over and we'll just put 3 washers on. 1, 2, 3. These give clearance for the bearings, just so that the outer face of the bearing doesn't scrape on the plastic. Put the 3 V-groove bearings on there. And then we'll put some hex nuts on these to hold them in place. Oops. Now this one here we can tighten up really tight. The other two we want to have quite loose for the moment. So I'll just tighten that right up. I've got a tiny little spanner here, which I really like. I've also got a little socket which I sometimes use, plus a teensy-weensy little spanner. Actually, I use this one quite a lot. This is great for when you want to turn in these kinds of screws, so works quite easily, like this. You can turn them in quite quickly. So we just want those to be able to slide for the moment, because we're going to turn these in to slide them. When we put them on our rails, we're just going to turn these in and slide these to the right spot to hold it firmly in place, but not too tight. So now that we've got these on, we're just going to put the thrust bearings on. There's a little bit of play sort of laterally in these, so the thrust bearings just hold those in place. So ball bearing first, channeled plate second, channeled washer second, and regular washer, just a 3mm M3 washer, and we'll put the nylock on top of that. I'll just do this up. Now we don't want it up super duper tight. We just want it done up tight enough that the bearings can spin freely, but that there's no play in there. And that'll do for now. We'll come back and adjust that in a little while. Now, just for the sake, technically we don't really want the thrust bearings on these ones until we've actually put everything in situ. On the rail, we just need to get everything locked in place first, but just for the sake of keeping everything together, I'm just going to put these together as well. And the nylocks. Oops. Want a washer on there first. And nylock. And other washer. Nylock. I'll just tighten these up so they don't rattle around. There we go. So that's the first part of this exercise done.